Discipline isn't lost all at once. It erodes slowly, quietly, through small, repeated habits that seem harmless at first. You don't wake up undisciplined. You decay into it. One snoozed alarm, one skipped task, one, "I'll do it later," whispered into your own mind. The Stoic knows this. Weakness doesn't knock on the door. It creeps through the cracks. And if you don't catch it early, it becomes your identity. Discipline isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. It's not the big wins that build your edge. It's the daily choices that most people think don't matter. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about motivation. He wrote about repetition, about showing up even when the feeling wasn't there. Because discipline is the ability to honor your values over your emotions. And once you break that alignment, even slightly, you begin to drift. That drift, it becomes your downfall, unless you wake up and course correct. Habit number 1. Starting your day in reaction. The moment you wake up and check your phone, you hand control of your mind to someone else. You start responding instead of creating. The Stoic begins the day with intention, not input. He doesn't scroll. He doesn't drown in noise. He sets the tone, the direction, the pace. Because discipline begins with direction, and if the world chooses it for you, you've already lost. Habit number 2. Saying, "I'll just do it later." Procrastination is disguised as freedom, but what it really does is fracture your focus. The more you delay, the more pressure you stack. The Stoic doesn't chase perfect timing. He creates it by moving now, not when it feels right, not when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. Because the longer you wait to do what must be done, the harder it becomes to trust yourself when it matters. Habit number 3. Tolerating sloppy execution. When you start letting good enough replace what's required, you send a message to your mind. Standards are flexible. The Stoic holds the line, not because he's obsessed with perfection, but because he knows integrity is built in the small details. The way you do the little things becomes the way you do everything. Habit number 4. Letting feelings override structure. You won't always feel like showing up, and that's the trap. When your actions are dictated by mood, discipline dies quietly. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" He asks, "What must be done?" That question removes the option of comfort. Because discipline isn't emotional, it's operational. The Stoic uses structure to protect his mission from the weather of his own feelings. That's not cold, that's clarity. Habit number 5. Keeping toxic environments in your daily loop. What you consume, who you're around, what you tolerate, it all either reinforces discipline or erodes it. The Stoic knows your environment is a mirror of your standards. If you're surrounded by laziness, gossip, distraction, don't be surprised when you start slipping. He doesn't just set goals, he builds a system, a perimeter, a mental fortress. Because willpower fades, but systems hold. And if you're tired of breaking promises to yourself, tired of starting strong and fading fast, you're not alone. That's exactly why this space exists. Inner Legion isn't about hype or hustle, it's about rebuilding discipline brick by brick. So if this message hits different, don't just nod. Subscribe, stick around, get sharp, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Discipline isn't built in grand moments, it's built in quiet resistance. The decision to close the app instead of scrolling, the choice to finish the task instead of walking away. These moments don't get applause, but they build something louder than noise, self-respect. And without that, nothing you build will stand. The Stoic understands this. He doesn't look for motivation, he builds momentum. He shows up even when it's boring, even when it's inconvenient, because he knows who he's becoming every time he follows through. Most people lose discipline, not from lack of knowledge, but from lack of alignment. They say they want clarity, but live in chaos. They say they want focus, but allow distraction. The Stoic doesn't entertain that contradiction. He lives his values in motion. And every choice that honors those values becomes a vote for the man he's becoming, not the one he's outgrowing. There's no finish line. There's only the next rep, the next test, the next decision that says, "I don't just want discipline, I live by it." The reason most people struggle with discipline is simple. They still see it as a task, not a trait. Something they do instead of something they are. But the Stoic doesn't separate his discipline from his identity. He doesn't say, "I'll try to stay consistent." He says, "This is who I am." That shift? That's everything. Because once your discipline becomes part of your identity, failure stops being an option. It becomes friction that gets handled, not a reason to quit. He doesn't wait for life to be convenient. He trains for life as it is, unpredictable, uncomfortable, and unsparing. Discipline becomes his edge in a soft world. A compass when emotions lie. A shield when comfort tempts. A weapon when chaos hits. And every day he maintains it, he builds trust, not with others, but with himself. That's what most people miss. The real purpose of discipline is self-trust. When you say you'll do something and then you actually do it, something unshakable is built. In a world chasing hacks and shortcuts, discipline is the long road, and that's why it works. Because it's not trending, it's not flashy, it doesn't feed your ego, it builds your core. The Stoic doesn't pursue ease, he pursues edge. He doesn't ask, what's the fastest way? He asks, what will make me stronger? Every skipped excuse, every completed rep, every day he shows up, these aren't acts of willpower. They're proof of who he is. And that's the quiet truth. Discipline doesn't need to announce itself. It reveals itself over time. In how you walk, how you speak, how you handle stress when no one's watching. The Stoic doesn't seek discipline as a goal. He lives it as a code. A code that holds when plans fail, when energy dips, when doubt creeps in. Because he knows, when the world gets loud, reactive, and weak, the man with discipline remains a force. So ask yourself this. If someone studied your habits for a week, would they see a person in control or someone constantly negotiating with comfort?